So, to your knowledge, I've been asking this question. I've been trying to find out. When do you think Anonymous Village first came into being?
So, from what I understand, is that Danarchy,
who we've been trying to track down, is he here this year?
No, he's not here this year. So Danarchy, he is part of the Ranger Shift Command team, which is really, that's kind of the top tier of Ranger leadership.
Okay.
He works with the khakis in the back of the Ranger Operations Center, and he's a really well-respected Ranger type person. He's, 2 layers above me in the hierarchy there.
Got it.
And he's just a good dude. I mean, he's got his flaws too. He spent a lot of time doing Gulf War stuff and took a beating in that.
Oh, God.
And so there was a couple years where he was stuck on a base in Kansas and wasn't able to get here during burns. And if you get a hold of him, he can tell you more of that history.
Gotcha.
So I believe that he put an announcement in a newsletter or a forum and basically said, people in recovery, alcoholics in recovery, we're going to meet behind center camp and have a meeting. Back then, hay bales were not unacceptable out here. The whole moot situation was really different.
Yeah.
And so there was a ring of hay bales behind center camp, and that's why they held their meetings. And I believe there was a generator nearby, because it's center camp, and they needed and so you could barely hear anything. And they were okay with that because they thought it would make things more anonymous,
right?
Because no one else would hear what they were saying.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a lot of that history. I don't know who was in those original group of meetings. I don't know if Garth was. I know that Garth was coming here. I don't know if he was actually clean and sober then.
Right, like me. I wasn't clean when I first came to Burning Man, to say the least.
This has been kind of I'm so grateful that I wasn't out here using.
Yes, you are. Because you should be thankful.
I can't think of a more miserable place to wake up hungover in a tent.
Oh, yeah, it's rough.
Oh, or face down in the playa somewhere with the sun cooking your ass.
Yeah.
Oh. So,
yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
for sure. So are we talking like maybe early 90s or late 80s? I'm kind of getting that feeling maybe.
I believe it was late 80s, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
Right. It'll be interesting to really dial it in and find out.
Danarchy could tell you exactly
I know
when.
I know. We must track.
Yes.
Danarchy, we're going to track you down.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm D-Day.
I'm Rex.
And I'm Beth.
And today on this episode, I have a question for Rex and Beth. Rex and Beth, welcome to the episode intro. Have you ever been sober at Burning Man?
Yeah, a lot.
For hours at a time?
I've rangered a lot, and you have to be sober as a judge to ranger.
Some judges aren't terribly sober.
I know it's an expression for
some judges sell children to prisons
when people believe things about people in robes.
Today we have no people in robes, but we do have one of our incredible correspondents doing a whole bunch of amazing interviewing for us.
Is this Buddy?
This is Buddy.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Everyone, Buddy's back.
This is the legend that is Buddy.
And Buddy brought us a lot of Anonymous Village to tell us some stories of Anonymous Village and of everything else.
Deep Burning Man history.
Yes. I'm not going to say that it's a historical record, and if it is a historical record, that record was left out in the sun a little bit and got a little warped, but it still sounds pretty good.
Accuracy Third.
It's an oral history.
It is. It is oral as fuck.
Wait, but for maybe our new listeners, what is Anonymous Village?
Anonymous Village is an AA camp at Burning Man. Not the first, but, they're more than just a camp. They're a village. There are camps inside Anonymous Village that we will hear about in this episode. And everyone in this episode refers to Anonymous Village as AV, which is obvious in context after a while. But as AV has another meaning already, I figured I would call that out because I was kind of annoyed editing that portion of this audio at some point. I was just like, what the fuck is AV? And then I was like, right, Anonymous Village. Fuck.
Somebody working on A.
Yes. There's also some really good stories in this episode about the Rock Gazette, which made me realize we have like no real stories of the production of Burning Man newspapers up until now.
Oh, damn.
And these are fucking great. It is amazing, the project that they were doing out there. Anonymous Village is amazing as a concept and as a support to people who want to go to meetings out on Playa.
And just in general for fucking sober burners. It's like what they do out there is really fucking cool. And it makes space for a bunch of folks who wouldn't necessarily feel like they had space otherwise.
And as a drunk, I understand how unpleasant it can be to be around a bunch of drunks. And like, there's tens of thousands of drunks out at Burning Man. Most nights, if not all nights. And I bet it's great to get to go back to AV.
Some of those folks are just super high.
I think it's really easy to be sober at Burning Man.
Because I'm a ranger.
No.
I don't really like getting drunk.
There's a lot of incredible things to do. I think that like intoxication is not in any way inherent to the Burning Man experience.
Agreed.
I think it's like really awesome and kind of brave to be in recovery and go to Burning Man, because despite it not being important or inherent, it's also like omnipresent, like
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
Sounds wrong still. Yeah. I agree with you. I know the recording was so terrible, but we had a interview with, what is his playa name?
Von Brownflower.
Oh, God. Yes. Dandy. And he really aligned for me what it meant and how nice it can be for folks who are in like active recovery and are working on it to come to Burning Man and feel like there's space for them and they can be cool and they can have fun and that there's all of this.
And they can find the support they need when they need the support that it takes to be in recovery.
Yeah, a place to go away from your old college buddy who you did all of the drugs and drinking with, who you just happened to drive out to Burning Man. You might want to take a meeting. I don't know. But what I do know is that these are great stories, and thank you, buddy, and everyone. Here are 100 stories of Anonymous Village.
Thank you. It'll be good to get some of this down for posterity.
Yeah, so I was talking with folks at Anonymous Village, and we were like, we should really get a history, like an oral history, of Anonymous Village. So how's your burn going?
I've had better burns. I've had worse burns.
Right.
I'm physically still moving, and I'm no longer running to the Portos every 30 minutes. So things are looking up.
Yeah, right on.
Now we're getting pretty close to the actual burn, so we're kind of in the downhill slope.
Cool. Just to get a context, you go by Extavon,
yes,
out here, right?
Extavon.
And how long have you been coming to Burning Man?
So my first Burning Man trip was in 2007.
Okay.
And I was vaguely aware of Burning Man. And I was sort of intrigued with it, but my gateway festival, so to speak, is Kerrville Folk Festival in Kerrville, Texas.
I used to live in Kerrville.
And so I've been going to that for over 30 years.
Okay.
And some sober friends were there when I was in college.
Right.
And I was having a really rough weekend between semesters. And I went out there, and by the end of the afternoon, I was on the maintenance crew fixing Portos and selling tickets. And the Serenity Square group there was a big part of my recovery before I found Anonymous Village. Mm-hmm. So my transition from that to here was kind of interesting. So in 2007, I was at Kerrville, and after the second person said, you're a little edgy for this kind of hippie bluegrass deal. Have you been to Burning Man? And I'm like, no. I went home and I Googled it, and I was like, fuck yeah, this is my kind of weird. And
it's amazing.
So Mary L., who there's a chair that has her last name on it amongst the chairs. She had been out here 2 years before me, and she's like, Estevan, these people are your kind of weird. And so that's how I found out about Burning Man, because she'd stayed at the Village and was like, this is a crazy drug festival, but they're sober people. And what I've learned is if they're sober people, I can do anything.
Right.
I was in the triathlon world for a while, and when I started, there were 2 of us. And when I moved away, there were probably 6 or 7 of us sober guys who met. We'd pretty much, the Team Alamo Tuesday night run became like a sober men's meeting running through the medical center.
Wow.
So one of the things in my life is if I know I'm on the right path, if I have a pack of sober people going with me. And so finding Anonymous Village, or finding that there was Anonymous Village, is like, well, fuck, I've got a month and a half, 2 months to get my shit together,
right,
and figure out how I can do an event in the desert where I have to bring everything. Because Kerrville was 3 weekends with the weeks in between, and I usually worked those weeks in between, and so we'd have a camp set up for almost a month, because we would go in the weekend before and set up our tents and stuff. We'd pay extra to get in and set up our tents. So I was used to long-term festival camping, but I'd never done a festival where you couldn't like run 15 miles into town and go to the Chinese buffet or something.
Right.
There's nothing in Gerlach. There's no running into town unless you're driving an hour and a half, period.
Right.
So it was a different level of commitment than I was used to. So I did a lot of research. Back then, E-Playa was I would imagine it probably is snarky as fuck, but it was interesting negotiating back then, because the burner world, the Simpsons episode had only been floating around a while, and in the public consciousness, Burning Man wasn't quite a destination yet. It very quickly became so. I think it was my 4th burn or 5th burn where the tickets sold out, and then we did the lottery the next year, and that was a disaster.
Right.
So Anonymous Village. So I flew into Reno. I had a sober buddy meet me, and I had packed a good portion of his vehicle the weekend before, and he unpacked it and repacked it and left some of the structure poles. So we had kind of a wonky 2 carport set up with the cheapest carports I could find.
Right.
So we pulled in probably 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday and just pulled into the Village and stopped and literally leaned forward and slept on the dash. We were so wiped out. About 6:45 in the morning, Captain Swifty came and knocked on our window and woke us up. What are you knuckleheads doing? And do you intend to be here? He just assumed we were drunks. We were just sober drunks.
Right.
And so my first Anonymous Village experience was the 7 a.m. meeting with Swifty and a woman who was only wearing a scarf. And I was thinking, I could get used to this.
Right.
And that was back before we worried about nudity in meetings or anything. It was a little bit different era. Facebook wasn't as easily accessible. Cell phones, you couldn't pump pictures out of here as quickly because there wasn't signal here.
Right.
And the culture has shifted a lot as a result of the improved cell networks and social media, and I can't say whether that's bad or good for it just is. That's just who we are today. So that burn started with a 7 a.m. meeting with the sun coming up. I set up my camp. The friend who drove me had multiple back surgeries, and if you look at the x-rays, he looks like he's got a hardware store in there.
Oh, my God.
So I did a lot of the setup and got our camp set up, and he crashed. And so about 3 in the afternoon, I finally get on my bicycle, and I cruise out of the Village to see the city. And I make one lap around center camp, and I see this wall of white coming in. And I haven't been out of the Village for more than 20 minutes or so, because center camp's not far. And here I am in this whiteout, and I get off the bike, and I pull my goggles down, and I have my mask because I've done my research. And I hear these samba drums off in the distance.
Oh, cool.
And so I just slowly roll the bike until I find this ensemble playing samba music. 2 or 3 drummers, a couple guys on horns, and all these people with masks on dancing in the whiteout. And that was sort of my introduction to, the party goes on. We're doing this. And at some point, that blew through, and I got on the bike and I rode rode out into the playa, and within an hour or so, I heard this opera aria off in the distance, and I'm thinking, this has got to be live. So I follow the opera aria to Thunderdome. And so I believe Countess Marissa, I think, she was actually an opera singer in the Bay Area who was part of Death Guild.
Wow.
And so the way that Thunderdome used to open is, she would sing for 5 or 10 minutes to a recorded soundtrack, and then the fights would begin. And as a fan of Kubrick films, I love the idea of mixing opera and ultraviolence.
Right.
And I was like, these are my kind of freaks,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I remember about my first day Burning Man experience. So my first year at Burning Man, one of the things that really stands out is Aaron was our treasurer, and he didn't camp with us, but he would always show up on one of those little gas GoPed scooters, one of those 50cc scooters, and he'd come flaming in and stop and stumble into the meeting. And pretty much every time he shared, he would end his share with, "Get a fucking job."
Right.
You're Burning Man, get a job. And what I've found is, he was right. If you get a service position, either with the village or with rangers or with greeters or ICE or anywhere, it really ties you into the ethos of the event, and you meet, in my opinion, more interesting people, because the movers and shakers who get shit done, they're the kind of people who they have the juice to get art done, to build art cars, to do great stuff. And I highly encourage new people to Burning Man, get a job.
Right.
Because you will meet the kind of people, they really are carrying the ethos of Burning Man forward. I'm a Black Rock Ranger trainer. I lead the trainings in Austin and New Orleans. I tell people in those trainings, one of the things that's my sort of stick is when you're volunteering, you're voting with your time to hold the next event. It's not very obvious here at Burning Man, but at the regionals, the event size is capped based on the number of volunteers we have.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so here at Burning Man, if we don't have enough rangers, if we don't have enough medics, we can't sell more tickets. There's a limit to how many tickets you can sell if you don't have the infrastructure, if you don't have enough porta potties. But the human capital is a huge part of being able to throw an event like this. If you don't have the volunteers and the people, think about AV. If we don't have enough hammer crew people to build a village, we're building the village during the burn and people aren't getting to burn.
Right.
And when I started in 2007, we didn't have as much hammer crew stuff, and you didn't get in a week early.
No?
You maybe got in Saturday. I'm not sure when exactly that. I wasn't that tied in that first burn. So that first burn, I spent a fair bit of time hanging out with Santa Cruz and getting to know him.
Okay, so Santa Cruz is another ranger, correct?
Yeah, Santa Cruz was Ranger Santa Cruz.
He's a founding member here of
Yes.
Anonymous Villages.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll have to interview him. That'd be great. Yeah.
You need to track him down, because for a number of years, he was the village idiot. And
Okay, so what does that mean exactly, the village idiot? So if you could give us a background a little bit on the culture of the service positions and the titles and how that whole culture developed and where it comes from, that'd be great.
So we always referred to the mayor was officially called the village idiot. And
awesome.
and our culture has softened a lot since then.
Bring back the hardness. Man.
And I Burning Man is supposed to be tongue in cheek and snarky, and there's a place for political correctness when you're dealing with people who are oppressed and are harmed.
Sure.
When you're dealing with people that have a full sense of humor, we need to be snarky and let out that darker side of our personality. There's a yin and yang to all of us. Without Thunderdome, Burning Man would be like what's the hippie gathering in the
like the rainbow gathering.
Yeah,
rainbow gathering, but in the desert.
Yeah, so we need some edge and some techno-ness. When in my research, I saw Burning Man described as a techno-anarchist fetishist gathering.
Sure.
And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I'm nothing against Rainbow Gathering. I
Right.
mean, one of these days I might actually go just to have said that I've experienced it. I've done a lot of hippie festival stuff, and I'm a Grateful Dead fan, so there's part of me that aligns with that. But there's also a rougher, edgier side of me. I'm more the Jerry Garcia hanging with the Hells Angels side of
Sure.
Yeah, there was a period in my recovery. Ray, who I'm with, I used to ride motorcycles with him back 20 years ago.
Okay.
When we were younger in sobriety.
Right.
So back to AV.
So you had the Village Idiot.
So the Village Idiot.
And that's the mayor.
The mayor.
Okay.
And, we always had a treasurer.
Okay.
And we always had a hospitality person. And we usually had a builder, but we didn't have the hierarchy of alternates underneath.
Wow.
And we learned over the years that it's really good. For the building crew, you need... It works better with 3 people who know what the fuck they're doing,
sure.
who've really done it, because it's a monumental task. We're putting up a whole bunch of structures at once, and we're doing it in a hostile environment where you're likely to become dehydrated and exhausted. Mm-hmm. It really makes sense. And I'm trying to think. I don't remember any of the other positions that had really cool names.
Well, there's King Raw, right? Solar.
So King Raw, that was probably 2010, 2011 before we actually bought any solar panels.
Oh, okay.
And before that, we had quite an array of janky-ass generators.
Yeah, super loud.
We had
burning.
Yes,
burning fuel all night.
And you smell that rich, over choked kind of gas smell through.
Right.
There was a lot of generator drama through the years.
Oh yeah, like what? Like.
So I can see the guy's face. He used to camp with Synonymous,
okay.
and he's in Reno.
Okay, so now what's Synonymous exactly? What's going on there?
So what happened with Synonymous is Synonymous was a sister camp that typically was across the street.
Okay.
And Synonymous was the haven for Al-Anons who had significant others who still imbibed in alcohol or other things.
Okay, so that's Al-Anon is like friends and family of alcoholics and addicts that are in a 12-step program to deal with us essentially and all our shenanigans, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Synonymous most years was across the street, and a lot of times back in the day they would do like breakfast tacos, and they actually serve food to the public, which was a really cool thing. Yeah, that we've never had the bandwidth to even consider that. Our mission is a little bit more specific, and we have a lot of stuff to do to support what we do as a village. So I completely understand why we never sort of went that route, but it was always kind of nice to be able to walk across the street to Synonymous and get a breakfast taco.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
So Synonymous folks, and there were a number of alcoholics and addicts who camped with them because they had partners who imbibed. And when Synonymous became part of the AV Village, I've camped with them a number of times because I've had significant others that they weren't alcoholic. They abused wine and other beverages. They would bring really expensive wine and drink half a glass and let it get warm. Those kind of alcohol abusers.
In other words, not like us.
Not like us.
Yeah, not finishing the whole bottle and trying to hide it.
And I've brought significant others a couple times, and so I've supported Synonymous over the years, and I don't camp with them now because the flavor of lunacy over at complaint department just fits me better.
Yeah, so what's the complaint department about? You guys have a whole separate scene going on there.
Oh yeah, so the whole complaint department is about truly embracing your inner snarky ass burner.
Oh man, I'm going to come hang out. We're all going to come hang out then. Okay.
And so that started a number of years before I got involved in it. And complaint department started, and it's become more and more formal. And
really?
So Terry has created this form maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we've revised a couple times. And so we have a lot of check boxes and areas to write, and of course we have the pull number tab, and whenever you pull a number,
are you serious?
Yeah, we call out a number at least 30 numbers below that. because it's the complaint department, and we're channeling our inner Department of Motor Vehicles clerk that resides in all of us.
Right. You want to make people wait for a long time so they get super pissed off.
Yes.
Right? Absolutely. You just want to keep the resentment levels super high.
And if you've seen the stickers, with the satisfaction is not guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh, no, I haven't.
And so we have a sticker this year that says your satisfaction is not guaranteed, and faking sympathy is our performance art. So in spite of being a 12-step village, we are embracing the snarkier sides of Burning Man culture.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, that is really cool, man. So, to your knowledge, a lot of the service positions I notice kind of mirror service positions that we would normally have in meetings, right? In the default world. And a lot of the organizational structure has that horizontality, that we have, like, say, at a group level or an area level, or even regional.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that was basically the inspiration, or it just developed naturally out of necessity?
I think a lot of it developed out of necessity.
Okay.
My present position is E-Playa rep.
Yeah. What is that? What does that mean, actually?
So what that means is I'm the person who's supposed to communicate with other camps that have meetings. And my job is to track down other camps that have meetings and get those in a schedule and communicate with them and say, hey, this is our schedule. What's your schedule? We want to create a paper schedule that we hand out. And if you want to do the same, here's our information.
Right.
Run Free is the primary other sober camp. So over the years, so let me go back. So when I first got here, Hokey Pokey was the other sober camp, and they would do a noon meeting, and after the noon meeting, they would literally put the music on and do the Hokey Pokey. And
how long ago was this? When was this?
This was in 07.
07, okay.
So probably 07 through maybe 2010.
Do the Hokey Pokey and turn yourself around? Okay.
And so in every AA culture, you have sort of the younger crowd, and then you've got the kind of the middle crowd, and then you have the crusty old fucker big book guy. And Hokey Pokey was the crusty old fucker big book guys.
Oh, nice.
Then you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. It's not in the first 164 pages.
Okay. Yeah,
but after the meeting, we're going to do the Hokey Pokey.
We're going to do the Hokey Pokey after all that.
After all that.
That's amazing.
So there was also a group called Camp Stella.
Okay.
And Camp Stella it was part of one of the villages in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And it started out primarily as from what I understand, as a gay men's AA meeting. But some couples and women started camping there because there was a recovery camp.
Right.
And they maintained a group and had meetings for a long time, and I forget the name of the village they were part of.
Okay.
That village still exists. However, at some point, the org didn't think they were interactive enough or some kind, and so they didn't get placed.
Oh.
And so what happened is the Stella people split between AV and Run Free and other camps.
Okay.
And there was this perception that AV is not as gay friendly or lesbian friendly.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of bizarre because we have a number of key players
for sure
that are gay and lesbian.
100%.
And there have always been, it's just weird. To me, AA is sort of the kind of middle of the road clubhouse in any town. It's not the super ritzy neighborhood clubhouse, but it's not the clubhouse on the crack side of town either. It's kind of the sort of average middle American clubhouse, except we're moved out into the desert.
Right.
So you had Hokey Pokey, you had Stella, and for a while you had Photo Gartho, which was Garth's camp.
Okay, Garth, yes.
And
the notorious.
And yes, the notorious Garth. And I will try not to say anything too...
you can talk shit. Talk shit about him. Yeah, no, talk shit about him. Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what exactly happened over there, but, feel free to ask him if Goatsy was one of the people he photographed. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
He'll appreciate that. So at some point, Garth came back to Anonymous Village, and that camp ceased to exist. Stella has ceased to exist, and those people filtered into other camps.
Okay.
And I don't know anyone who is a member, but you keep asking because I'm sure there's some interesting history there that I'm not aware of.
Right.
So at the end of the week, I put my name in the hat to be the assistant village idiot because I was aspiring to be the village idiot.
Right.
And the next burn, I had a good time helping Santa Cruz out, and a big portion of what I did was run around and tension the ropes on shade structures.
Yeah.
We hadn't moved to ratchet straps, and we only used carports, and so things were a little rougher then, and everything was trucker hitched. So after every windstorm, you had to go through and confirm that everything was still snug.
Right. Rebar. Lots of rebar.
Lots of rebar.
Hammering.
Lots
endlessly.
Endlessly hammering.
Man. We have it so easy now.
Yeah.
Lag bolts, washers, chain. It's like people don't even realize how it used to be, right?
Technology is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very good thing.
Yeah.
I believe that rebar injuries used to be the number one.
Oh, I believe
number
it.
one rampart thing.
Okay.
Now I think the number one thing is bungee balls to the eyes.
Bungee balls to the eyes. Yeah.
Be careful when you're bungee balling, because.
Yeah.
So my second year at Burning Man, between my first and second year, I acquired a 1990 Bluebird TC2000 bus.
Oh, like a school bus?
A school bus, with a flat-nosed transit bus. It was actually the band and football team bus, so it had underlockers, and I did a lot of conversion work on it, and I brought 6 people with me.
Cool.
From Texas, and we had a ball. It was a blast. It was quite warm at times. I only had one air conditioner and one generator, and so it was driving a white bus from Texas was kind of interesting.
No doubt.
But it was great to the camaraderie. It's the adversity that builds bonds. So the next year, our adventure ended between Kingman and Vegas, near Needles, California. I was driving along thinking, I got laid off 3 months ago. Crazy shit going on in my life, but I'm with 2 amazing people. We're going to fucking Burning Man.
Right.
I have an art car that's 3/4 assembled on my trailer. And I look
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And I look out the window and I see flames shooting out from the trailer into the next lane.
Oh, no.
And I made the mistake of pulling over. I should have kept driving and called the fire department.
Oh, my God.
In the minute or two that I ran around back to look, the wind changed, the flames blew towards the bus, the back window shattered, and the whole bus gone. It went through the inside, and just there was nothing but black charcoal inside when the fire department finally dealt with it.
And everybody got out. Yeah,
everyone got out. Johnny was not wearing a shirt when he got out.
Whoa. My
My wallet was on the dash with my ID and my credit cards.
No.
My fairly new watch was in there. It was I had a little caddy up front on the very expansive bus dash.
Sure.
Where I took all of my stuff off and stuck it in there because I was gonna drive 6-8 hours probably.
Right.
The nice thing about the bus is, or a vehicle like that is, if you're not driving, if you cramp up, you can do yoga in the aisles and you can play your guitar. I mean, it's not like being stuffed in a car, particularly when there aren't any. I mean, there were 2 bus seats left, and the rest was turned into a burner bus.
Okay.
So we did not get there that year.
Oh, man.
And in that year,
What year was this?
That was 2009.
2009. Okay.
2009.
Uh-huh.
And I was heartbroken because I had my Ranger Alpha shift lined up, having hung out with Santa Cruz and worked with him through the last burn. I decided, this Ranger thing is pretty cool. And, I'm in recovery. I know how to talk to drunk people, and I know how to talk to crazy people.
Uh-huh.
And so...
Right, because we're crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're in sobriety long enough and you work in any kind of program, you learn how to talk to nuts.
Yeah.
Because all your friends are nuts. And
Right. Yeah.
you're surrounded by nuts. And
Right.
And so, if you need a service position, I suggest rangering. When I'm a khaki at regionals, I tell my rangers when they're going out, your homework is to get out into the city. I expect you to find 5 cool things to do after your shift written down in your notepad. Because when rangers go out and talk to people in the community and ask them what's going on, our social capital increases, and our ability to resolve problems is based on our relationship with the community. And so that's one of the things I've always encouraged in that. And we've joked that Anonymous Village is slowly becoming Anonymous Ranger Outpost, because rangering is a skill set that most recovering people are really close to. We're used to dealing with crises. We're used to dealing with people who are intoxicated. It's something comfortable for most of us, and it may not be something that we always want to do, but it's skills, it's transferable skills. So I was really bummed about missing my Alpha shift. The high point, I guess, if there was any high point in the bus burning up, is that within 20 minutes, my girlfriend's other significant other booked us a hotel room. We had airline tickets. It really showed me the quality of friends I had and the network I could lean into when things are crazy. People have asked, well, why didn't you rent a truck and drive? All of our gear was destroyed. Our tickets were in the vehicle. We were just toast for that year.
Right. You're lucky to just get out with, most of you got out with a shirt on your back, minus one person that didn't even get out with a shirt. I mean,
and so there was a carload of young Marines that pulled over and directed traffic, and they saw Johnny's arm, his tattoos.
Oh, okay.
And they scrounged up
he's a
former Marine.
Former Marine, okay.
Because you're never not a Marine.
Right, got it.
It's just like the cucumber pickle deal. There's no going back.
Right.
So they hooked him up with a sweatshirt and gave him some cash, because I think his wallet may have been somewhere else too.
Wow, man, that's serious.
So where this affects the village is we didn't get here and we didn't participate in the group conscience.
Okay, now explain that. What does that mean?
So on Saturdays, we always have a business meeting where we hold a group conscience. And
is it every Saturday, or is it just one Saturday, the Saturday before the burn?
The Saturday before the burn.
Oh, okay.
After the noon meeting, we hold our annual business meeting, and we elect new officers.
Okay.
We choose who our officers are going to be and set up our service structure for the next year.
Got it.
So when I returned in 2010, Jaguar was our mayor. And my initial response is, who the fuck is this guy and what the fuck is going on here? We had this guy running around with a megaphone being a total asshat to people.
Oh, no.
And
give people a little power.
Yeah, and it was just bizarre. And
drunk with authority.
Boy, yes. I was like, if this is the kind of service model that Anonymous Village wants, I will respect the group conscience, and I'm going to go be a ranger.
Right. Yeah.
And so I didn't run for any positions for a number of years. And I attended the group consciences and did that. But I was really confused with what the fuck happened the year I was gone.
Okay.
Santa Cruz, I didn't see him in our camp for many years. And I completely understand. I don't know whether he didn't run or when he saw what Jaguar was doing, trying to do with the village, he was as appalled as the rest of us. And so the Jaguar years were some really dark times in Anonymous Village history.
Okay.
He probably would have been great in a camp full of people using, but a camp full of people trying to work a program of sobriety that includes sanity. I mean, I'm not saying we're sane, but we're striving to get to sanity.
Right, exactly.
He was a real impediment to heading that direction.
Yeah, because no one's supposed to have hierarchy or be over anybody else. It's all positions of service, and so there's an equanimity of distribution of labor.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that if you're the village idiot or the mayor or whatever, that you are actually running things, right? Because we're supposed to be working with each other, not for each other. That's my understanding.
And the idea with the title, it was a village idiot,
Yeah.
is the person wasn't supposed to be a dictator.
Right.
They were supposed to guide things and make things happen in a more amenable way. And to me, running around yelling at people through a megaphone I don't know any leadership methodology that I've ever been taught that showed that actually worked.
Yeah, no.
And so a lot of us stepped away from service, and I don't think I got back into the service arena for probably 4-5 years.
Wow, that's a long stint.
Until I became friends with Charlotte and got closer to Twana.
Right.
Charlotte encouraged me to be her alternate. Okay. And I was her alternate, so I was assistant village idiot again. But by then, things had kind of softened up, and I was the assistant mayor at that point.
I see.
And so I did that function for a number of years. And as a ranger, sometimes those skills were needed and other times they weren't. Somewhere in the history of Anonymous Village, we started getting a lot more food-type addiction people and a lot more S-type group people.
Right, like sex and love addiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one of the early sort of traditions of Anonymous Village is if people cooked, they would pass food around. And we'd have trays of cookies going around, and sometimes, a big thing of bacon would be going around the meeting.
Right.
And
If you have a food addiction, that's
so the foodies were not happy about that.
Oh boy, understandable.
And I get that. And so at one point when we had the group conscience to discuss that, Boilermaker was a longtime member of Anonymous Village way before me. Mm-hmm. And he was a crusty old fucker. Right. And that's just the best way. And he had been a Black Rock Ranger for many years. And during the group conscience, when it was his time to share, he unbuckled his kilt and he put his kilt on the chair and shook his dick at the whole group and basically said, this is Burning Man.
Fuck yeah.
This is advanced sobriety.
Yeah, that's cool. I see that too.
If you were a fucking newcomer, what the hell are you doing here? Get a sponsor, work a fourth and fifth step, come back here when you're capable of handling this world. If you're a food addict, do the same thing. Get a sponsor.
Right.
Do your steps and be capable of existing in this world. And the same, I can't disagree with him. I mean, this is like the worst possible place to be if your sobriety or your program is shaky.
That's true. And I mean, we can't hold each other hostage, whether intentional or not, with our triggers. We can lean on each other. We can process and work our... like if something's triggering me, I know that I can come to you or I can come to Robot and I can talk to folks and be like, this is how I'm feeling right now. And you work through it, you process it, and then your program becomes stronger and you learn and that's what a lot of the, bonding through adversity, like you were talking about earlier is I think that's really a dynamic that's at the core of all that.
So the whole irony with the Boilermaker deal is in the next couple of years, he experienced ayahuasca.
Okay.
And he became one of those ayahuasca hippies that never shuts the fuck up.
About ayahuasca. Got it. Okay.
And so from one end of the first 164 pages Nazi to the ayahuasca idiot.
Yeah, you mean like big book thumper to ayahuasca evangelist.
Or the completely inflexible sort of hardcore AA.
Sure.
The ayahuasca will bring you to God.
Interesting.
And so at some point he was asked by the village to please, you don't really fit here anymore.
Okay.
This isn't a recovery. And
right.
That same year, there was some drama with Rangers, and we've never seen him since.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that is unfortunate. I mean, I know there was drama, but
I do hope that he's in recovery somewhere and getting what he needs.
Sure.
But there was a lot of crazy shit going on that particular year. It was fairly early in my tenure here. I was doing a lot of Ranger stuff, but, when I became mayor, I tried to cut my hours back and be more present in the village.
Right.
And now I'm on the opposite end of things in that I was trying to cut my hours short this year, and then I got sucked into an art car build. And
oh, did you?
Yes.
How'd that go?
So, God, it's just brutal.
It was easy and no problem, right? Everything went smoothly?
Oh, yeah. So we came out here for 4th of E-Playa.
Okay.
And the expectation was that there would be 4 of us, and that we would be at Ranch 360, and we would camp there.
Okay.
We'd work on the art car from, daylight to noon.
No problem.
Run into town. We had a room at Bruno's. We'd take a shower, take a nap in the room, get dinner, and come back out, 7 at night, work till 10 or so, and then go do E-Playa stuff.
Oh, easy.
And so we get out here and we find out that the code compliance person and whoever's in charge of Ranch 360 have been beaten heads. And so we can only work there from 9 to 5 during business hours.
Wow.
Which, when you're doing welding and replacing plywood decking, and so we didn't get the stuff done we needed to do before it got here on Playa.
Right.
So there was a brutal amount of work that needed to get done to get it registered. And
what was the art car called?
It's called Mush.
Mush. Okay.
And
does it still exist?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's this year.
No. Oh, that's this year that this happened.
Year.
Oh, I thought we were talking about history of struggle. This is like this year.
This is my present insanity.
Fresh insanity. Awesome.
I'm back to doing way too much stuff to interact with my villagers.
Beautiful.
And
just like me.
Yeah, I've always done way too much service work.
Yeah.
And I get to the end of the burn and I'm meeting people at the Saturday potluck. It's like, how the fuck did I not meet them earlier?
Yeah.
Because, I've been to 3 meetings and, I interact mostly with the cluster of people there in the complaint department.
Sure.
Because we sit there and we watch the circus parade by us on F all day. And we don't always come in and be part of the rest of the circus.
Yeah. You've got your own little Ringling Brothers.
Yes,
happening over there.
literally.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, we're all, yes. We're all here because we're not all there.
Yeah, totally.
Chill out.
Okay, we're rolling. All right, we're good. You got the mic. Who are you?
I'm Blues Bob.
Blues Bob. Okay, yeah. Blues Bob.
Very funny.
When was the first time you came to Burning Man?
2010.
And what inspired you to come to Burning Man?
I read about it in an art book, and it interested me.
Okay. And have you always camped at Anonymous Village?
Since I've been coming, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And how's your experience been here at the Burning Man Complaint Department specifically?
Well, 2017, Bob and I were sitting out here, and a girl walking by from airport just all of a sudden said, "Can I tell you guys something?" And we, sure. So she came up and really started bitching about all the people that were coming through the airport. And we listened and listened and listened and listened. And then she walked off, and that's when I got the cardboard and wrote complaint department on it and hung it up with 2 zip ties, And that was the start.
Oh, cool. So you're the person that has started the Burning Man Complaint Department here at
me and Bob.
You and Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we really did not want to hear complaints.
Right.
So we decided to be really snarky. Here, I'll let this guy explain because he's the one that really took off with it.
All I did was have a sign made.
Okay. Here, grab the mic, Terry. Grab the mic. Yeah.
All I did was have the sign made, and we had that for a year or 2.
Right.
And then we decided that they should fill out a form when they came, and so we developed the Burning Man Complaint Department form that they fill out and list their grievances. Okay. And then we mock and ridicule them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then you also have a number system here for the complaints department, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a real live take a number like you get at the dry cleaner, or the deli, or wherever.
Sure.
They pull a number.
Okay.
And we ask them what their number is, and they tell us, and then we pick a number about 30 below that one.
Sure.
And then we say, have a seat and fill out the form while you wait, and it goes from there.
Okay, cool. And then how many complaints would you say on average do you get per burn?
If I were dedicated, I would actually review the review the results. But
right,
about 10, 15 a day.
10 or 15 a day. Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes more. This week business has been slow.
Really? Okay.
Well, it's a recession.
That's true. Right. So people are just less motivated. Do you think they're just depressed?
Yeah.
And they're like,
everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's got to go do the next thing, and
they're commuting.
Yeah.
Right, because you're on the main highway here.
Sure. We get a lot of people shouting complaints at us, but
drive-by complaints.
A lot of drive-bys.
Yeah.
A lot of drive-bys.
Yeah.
In fact, our new sign is going to say, "No fucking drive-by."
Yeah. Oh, no fucking drive-by. Drive-by complaints don't count. So the complaints only count if you fill out the form?
Absolutely. Well, that's the only way the Borg is going to get the data that
so it's
that we're compiling and tabulating for them. Yeah. Oh, we have charts and graphs, and we analyze the trends and whatever those people do.
the trends of dissatisfaction and right. Okay.
And then of course the Borg takes care of everything before the next year. So.
Right, and then everything is resolved, and then that's just
everything.
So you guys are directly responsible for the betterment.
Every improvement you've seen in Burning Man is a result of the complaint department.
thanks to us.
No more bumpy streets, right?
No
Okay.
more bumpy streets.
Yeah.
It's not hot and dusty anymore.
Right, that's true.
It's not noisy.
Right.
The portos are fine.
The thermostat installed.
Yeah.
At center camp.
You got the thermostat installed at center camp.
Right.
Okay, that's amazing.
So,
And
yeah.
so you are Solitary Terry or Secretariat or Terry the Terror? Terry the Terror.
I'll answer to all of the above.
You answered all of the above?
Sure.
Okay, all right. And have you always been sober at Burning Man?
Always.
Wow, that's really cool. And so you heard about Anonymous Village, right?
Actually, I was looking for my church retreat, and I took a wrong turn. So.
You were looking for your church retreat, and then you ended up.
I got here before they sold out, so I was able to just drive on
You
in.
just drove in, and you
Yeah.
were like, "I'm here to accept communion," and
I
they
was
were
looking
like,
for
"Come
Jesus."
on in." You're looking for Jesus, and you found Anonymous Village.
Terry is an evangelical. He's been excommunicated.
Oh, you're an excommunicated evangelical.
I love this backstory.
I mean, there's
we're writing
worse.
for me.
Look, Terry, there's worse faiths. I mean, really, you know, like I don't know, man. I can think of worse. You
Sure.
know? Yeah.
Sure. I had wanted to come to Burning Man before I got sober. Like
Okay.
Years ago.
Sure.
And boy, am I glad I didn't make it, because
You're lucky.
Would have killed me.
Yeah.
And then I came. My first year was 2010.
Right.
Actually, Bob and Harry and I all had the same first year.
Okay.
That's when we met.
Wow. Okay, so did you guys all plan it out ahead of time to all come in together, or you guys just ended
I
up
didn't
here
know
like,
any of
what the
them.
fuck am I doing here?
We ended up neighbors in Anonymous Village by chance.
Okay, got it.
And
Me and you had talked on the phone.
yeah, we
But
met
never
E-Playa. Remember the E-Playa?
It's still there.
Is it still there?
It's still there. I still have my login from like, I don't know, 18 years ago.
Oh my God.
And I could still see the messages that I left when I was fucking out of my mind.
Are you the
meth.
one that left the message, shave your balls now?
No, I didn't. But I
Because
wish I
that one
would have.
wouldn't go away.
I wish I would have.
E-Playa is how I found out about Anonymous Village.
E-Playa, okay. And who are you again?
Blues Bob.
Blues Bob. Okay, so we're talking to Blues Bob and Terry from the Burning Man Complaint Department, and we are here surrounded by his cohorts of team. Okay, would you describe it as a cohort, a cadre, associates,
Contemporary.
soulmates?
Cellmates.
Cellmates. So your cellies. Your cellies are here? Okay. All right, cool. Well, that's awesome. And so who do we have over here?
Yeah, I'm just Don. I met these two by mistake.
Oh, you did?
I came to
Yeah,
Renegade, and I'm
you made a
standing-
big mistake.
I rented a Renegade. I'm sitting around. People come up. Hey, are you
Yeah.
friends of Bill? I go, no. Who's Bill? And another person goes, who's your friend of Bill? And pretty soon I figure, okay. And
Right.
met these two guys. They're my neighbors.
Okay.
Let me come on in. I was a newbie. Had no idea what's going on.
Sure.
Told me some stories and let
Right.
me hang out and
Okay.
make sure I didn't hurt myself.
Right, okay.
This is my first real burn.
This is your first real burn.
I did
Yeah.
not hurt myself.
We were successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no complaint department at that Renegade burn.
Oh, I see. And so you're camping in Anonymous Village as well?
No, I'm actually parking over in a less anonymous village.
Oh, Less Anonymous. I haven't even heard of Less Anonymous. What is Less Anonymous?
Leopard Martini Lounge.
Leopard Martini
So it's a
Lounge,
little
okay.
less
Got it.
with Dormouse. Yeah.
Dormouse. Okay.
But Harry.
Harry?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What do you say, Harry?
Ray, get in here.
Okay.
Renegade was a real burn.
Renegade. Okay, so we're starting with that. Renegade was a real burn. Okay. I believe you. I wasn't there. I wish I would have been there. It sounded amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I talk a lot.
Well, you're really quiet now. I'm really having to. Yeah. So Harry. Yeah. Okay. So here we are at Anonymous Village. What is your personal history with Anonymous Village? How did you hear about it? How did you hear about Burning Man? And how did you become involved with the community here?
Well, I in Parachuters magazine one month I skydived.
Oh, okay.
And they had skydiving at Burning Man. So I thought, I'm probably never going to jump the North Pole or anything like that, but I could jump at Burning Man. And and then I actually had a friend, and I kind of brought it up to him, and he said he always wanted to go. And then I was a little worried about all the drugs, the alcohol and stuff, and my wife and kind of checked around, and I checked around, and they told us about the Anonymous Village.
Okay.
And then I met someone that is a part of the Anonymous Village in Minneapolis and talked to them, and then just decided to come.
Wow, that's cool. And what year was that?
I don't know. What year was it, Terry?
2010.
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
All right. And so you've camped with Anonymous Village the entire time?
I have. Yep.
Wow, that's really
It's a great place to be.
It is a great place to be.
It's a safe harbor.
Yep.
I mean, I don't feel that Burning Man's really an unsafe place, but it's a safe harbor for, if a storm blows in.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. Right. An actual physical storm or
a mental storm.
A mental storm, a behavioral storm, or
mental here.
Yeah. There's a lot of mentals here.
Mental storm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And have you always been directly a part of the Burning Man Complaint Department team here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is your position with the Complaint Department?
I put the sign away and then bring it back.
Okay.
He's the roadie.
I mean,
I'm the roadie, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're the roadie.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he's the
logistics.
logistics supervisor.
Yeah, and I back up for the evaluations and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so you do like the performance reviews and stuff?
I help out, yeah.
Okay.
In a pinch, I'll just pull one out by myself. So.
Okay, so we're like roadie, groupie, logistical supervisor / HR.
Correct.
Okay. Well, you're a man of many hats.
Yep.
I'd like to interject. There is no performance here.
Yeah.
We're very honest.
This is all right from the. And it wouldn't be the heart; it would be the fart.
So it's instead of heartfelt, it's fartfelt.
It's fartfelt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what the evaluation.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. Whether it's like a performance improvement plan or.
If they're a hypocritical douchebag, the recommended action might be to tough love them.
You need a microphone.
Tough love them.
It's okay.
If it's somebody that's just being a hypocrite and kind of douchey, then we'll give them some tough love.
Okay.
If it's somebody that seems, a little bit, like they've got a point, then we'll give them fake sympathy. Oh, we're so sorry. I'm really sorry you're having a bad burn.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just ignore it and do nothing. So.
Okay. And so, do you have people that come in that are just completely broken, that just completely break down, and they're just freaking out?
Actually, we have. We've had some seriously upset individuals that have come down, and there have been tears and just utter frustration and needing to talk. And this is really kind of a good, perfect spot for that to happen because we're used to listening to people have tears and break down and talk. So we're kind of ideally suited for that kind of response.
That's true, right? Because we're in recovery and we're all helping each other get through our shit.
Exactly.
All the time.
And so we can pause in our snarkiness and our performance art long enough to, help that person.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And we have Ray over here. Ray, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So, what is your exact title here at the Burning Man Complaint Department?
I'm in advanced internship. This is my third year with the Complaint Department, my third burn.
Okay. Third year Complaint Department, fifth burn?
Third burn as well.
Third burn as well. Okay.
Yeah, I was recruited by my friend to come down here and offer a hand, maybe bring the voice of reason. That was a sorely misguided endeavor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned from the best.
Right.
My friend next month said, we're going to camp next to the complaint department. I think you'll get along well with them. And he was correct. I found my niche. I found my home here.
Right.
I'm currently taking advanced instruction from what I consider the resident expert, Terry, in moderate snark.
Moderate snark. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm learning to identify when deflection and misdirection is necessary and when fake sympathy is provided. And I absolutely love tough love.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not quite good at it, but I'm getting there. We have a category of blame assignment.
Blame assignment?
Yeah,
tell
we
me
can blame
about that.
The Borg.
Okay.
We can blame millennials.
Sure.
Larry explained a lot.
Larry?
Because, he's not here to...
Yeah, he's dead.
He's not here to refute it, so it's an easy mark.
That's true. Easy mark. Larry's an easy mark.
I really enjoy it. I mean,
yeah.
And to counter Blues Bob's point that there is no performance here, I refute that because our motto is acting like we care is performance art.
That is performative.
We're not to be taken seriously.
Right.
Unless, of course, you want to hug. Those are freely given. We're
Hugs
quite generous with them.
That's good. I like that. Okay. And so you're saying now that this is your third burn, so am I to say, because I remember you in 2022.
That was my first burn.
That was your first burn. That was your first burn ever, and that was my first burn sober after a 16-year hiatus.
Wow. We're kind of cousins.
We are. So we're like,
kindred souls, man.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
Yeah. So far, I've experienced, I think, all that Playa has to offer. My first year was hot, windy, and miserable.
Right.
And I enjoyed it so much, I came back for the 50-year flood.
For the 50-year flood, which is amazing.
And this year, we got a little bit of both at the beginning, but now it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come back.
No doubt. I can't either.
I'm going to be tuning my snort chops throughout the remainder of the year.
Right.
I'm going to come back bigger and better than ever next year.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And so we have...
I'm not in the complaint department.
You're not in the complaint... Well, yeah, but you're a member of Anonymous Village. Yeah.
But
I know.
I'm just a visitor.
Notice how quick she was.
You are not just a visitor.
I'm not. I'm a visitor to the complaint department.
Okay, well, I'm visiting as well. So, so we're in a ambassadorial, position, I guess, right? Liaison. Right. Anonymous Village liaison relations to the complaint department. Okay, so who are you?
My name's Charlotte.
So now say if Charlotte and I, for example, would want to become members of, or work with, however I don't know what your corporate culture is here. So how would we apply?
Well, Ray's in his internship. How long does it last?
My internship is going to last till my confidence is such that I could man the complaint department by myself. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
Good swag will get you in a lot quicker.
Good swag will get you in a lot quicker. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay.
And actually, membership is mostly by association. Hang on long enough, and you will be embraced.
Okay. Yeah. Here's another one. You want in really quick? Feeding us breakfast. And it'll get you in really quick.
Okay, so those are hot tips for us, Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, duly noted. All right. Okay, so Charlotte, when did you first come to Burning Man? When were you first involved in Anonymous Village and stuff like that?
I first came to Burning Man in 1996, and when I was out there using and abusing, it was wonderful. And when I discovered sobriety, I knew that this place had everything you need, so I found AV online in like 5 minutes, and so I've been with AV. I started coming in 2008 with AV.
So you were out here in the Playa before I was. You were out here in 96.
96, yeah.
96. And did you go straight like 96, 97, 98?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in my contract at work to have this time off.
No kid, really, seriously.
When I was in school, I said I needed the time off because I had a family reunion to go to.
I mean, that is really, that's true.
It's true. Yep. It's
And they were like, hey, you know what? Whatever it takes.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so you have that guaranteed time off, and it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks every year, and this is what you do. Okay.
Yep.
And then service positions in Anonymous Village. I know you have quite an extensive history of different positions.
Yeah.
And so can we go over your resume?
I started out as a baby hospitality person and worked my way up that ladder.
And how was that? Was it pretty tough?
It was draining.
Draining.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was like being the den mother. But I think it's be better now. So hospitality and then build crew.
Right. And so what is hospitality exactly?
Hospitality is the opposite of the complaint department.
Okay, that's a nice juxtaposition. So we had the complaint department on one side.
Yes.
And then hospitality on the other. So it's like the perfect balance.
It's a place that's tried to be creative, to make it nice and comfortable to hang out in, that you can get cold drinks or coffee or snacks, and everyone's really nice and bleh.
Right. Yeah.
Are you implying we're not nice?
Yeah.
She's not implying anything. She's just saying it. Yeah, there's no implication. Okay, so you're doing baby
hospitality. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I moved into the building thing. Was a build crew and assistant builder and build lead, and then mayor stuff, and then now I'm back in build.
You're back in build because we just had our business meeting and you had just been elected to build lead again.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you've obviously witnessed a lot about Anonymous Village. So the question that keeps arising and what we're trying to pin down is when did Anonymous Village start? I'm getting somewhere in the late 80s.
No.
Does anybody, do you know? Charlie, do you know?
Charlie knows.
Charlie knows, okay. Okay.
I'm Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
How you doing?
1998, I was here. There was a meeting in 1997 in Center Camp.
Okay.
That Garth went to. Garth knows a little of this history as well.
Yeah.
And then Danarchy came from the origin of one of the founding members of the Complaint Department's territory.
Okay.
Somewhere near the Great Lakes.
I see.
Minnesota. And Danarchy came and he brought a bivouac tent from the, what was he in? The Air Force or the Reserve. So we had this green reserve tent. We had these meetings at noon, I think at 6 o'clock. It was so freaking hot in there. But it was amazing, to be out here, running around.
I've heard about this parachute, yeah.
Oh, the parachute was later.
Oh, it was later. So this is different. Okay.
Yeah, that was when Navy Anonymous Camp back then was run by committee, and there was the construction of most of the structures in Anonymous Village was led by all-out, top-lung, screaming people at each other.
I heard about this.
Ill-equipped.
I heard
terrifying.
about this. I heard it was terrifying.
I left. Yeah.
Right. It was just like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is great to uncover the truth because I have this very, Anonymous Village has been this perfect recovery utopia and this perfect camp where everybody has just been absolutely amazing and just impeccable with each other. And so now since I started doing this interview, I was like, wow, a lot of crazy shit has gone down at Anonymous Village. Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, we're all a bunch of fucking recovering addicts and alcoholics.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have strong personalities for sure. Yeah. And so Charlotte, if I could backtrack to Charlotte since we're going around the circle. So, and thank you for that, Charlie.
This is like a hookah thing.
Yeah. It's like we're smoking a hookah. I know. We're doing the 2-mic interview with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. Okay. So hospitality, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you were mayor.
Uh-huh.
And how was that? That must have been super easy.
Right.
No drama at all.
None.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's when you're smoothing out the bumps, the personalities of the village, and that's a lot too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what comes to mind as the most that stands out to you as the most intense situation that you had to de-escalate or deal with as mayor? That you want to disclose?
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
Too much?
A lot of it's just has to do with people working on their generator times and things like that.
Sure.
Loudness, inappropriate comments.
Yeah.
None from this camp, though. None
These
from this guys. None.
Yeah, these guys are perfect. These guys are great. Yeah, I can tell. Well trained. Yeah,
it's interpersonal workings.
Sure. So has Anonymous Village grown? It's grown a lot, it seems, yes?
Yeah, it's grown quite large, so it has little neighborhoods now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's become more diverse. Like it used to be, how Charlie mentioned, it was a lot of military. I mean, that's kind of how Burning Man was, too. A lot of old military tents and, there was no neon lights. It was just those red flares up in the air. And, there was, before it hit the internet, there was no glowing stuff here.
There was the drive-by, shooting range.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were 8 women that camped in Anonymous Village.
Okay.
Anonymous Camp.
Sure.
Because I remember I pulled in, my first night here, I pulled in the middle of the night and crashed next to what I found out was the meeting tent.
Yeah.
And I woke up in the morning with this big man standing over me, just saying, "You can't camp here. The women are over there." And I was like, okay, thank you. I was just in a lawn chair, just sleeping. But yeah, it was definitely different. And now it's more diverse. We just have a lot wider range of people.
Right, which is amazing. And I mean, there's multiple generations of people here, right?
Yeah, there's even kids here now.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
We even got some people almost in wheelchairs pretty soon.
Right, so we have every phase of life represented here at Anonymous Village. Yeah. And so where do you see the future of Anonymous Village going? Like, what are your thoughts on...
That seems like a really big question.
That is a huge question. I know.
I think that we've expanded as big as we can, and I feel that we're going to shrink a little now. That's my own personal thought. It's like we've really gotten big, and we need to deflate.
So it's harder to have cohesion with 200 people.
Yes.
Right. That's really difficult. Yeah.
But we'll see. It could happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Charlie, how you doing?
Good. It's 113 today.
It's 113 degrees?
Well, the thermometer we have that was in the sun said 113.
It said 113.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's hot.
Yeah.
That's the Black Rock Desert, for sure. Yeah. So how many years have you been coming to Burning Man? What inspired you to come to Burning Man? And then how did you become involved with Anonymous Village?
I had heard about Burning Man in 1995. Wow. Somebody described it as a Renaissance festival out in the desert, and I'm thinking, being back from back east, I'm like, the fuck am I going to do with Friar Tuck eating mutton out in the middle of the desert? It didn't click. Nobody really explained it well. And then this guy that I sponsored at the time was taken through the 12 steps, said to me, he described it. He was kind of a wordsmith, but before he finished the sentence, I knew what this was, I knew where we're going, and I knew I needed to be here. And so we came out, and he left after one day, and he's like, come on, we're leaving. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere, bro. And that was 98, and that was when I moved over to Anonymous Camp.
Oh, that was the first year I went, was 98.
Yeah.
It's either 98 or 97. I have to figure that out. And you've been camping with Anonymous. Well, you didn't camp in Anonymous Village the whole time, right?
No, there was a group.
Yeah.
There was a girl I was seeing, and then she introduced me to a group called Homeslice.
Okay.
That come up from L.A. So I came up from L.A. AV was a little nutty back then.
Right.
So I came up with them.
Okay.
And then I'd come over for meetings. And I got to know a bunch of people. And I'd come see Danarchy.
Right, sure.
Our founder.
Okay. Yeah. And have you always attended the Burn Sober, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many years sober do you have now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in my 39th year.
39
So I started
years.
at 19. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Wow. That's awesome.
There are a bunch of people in the camp right now that started at 19 that are, over 10 years.
Yeah, that's great. And so are you in agreement with Charlotte that we've kind of grown as big as we can, and you foresee like maybe a little bit of a shrinking or maybe some people breaking off?
No.
Okay.
I think I think that the smaller camps within the camp.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I haven't done well with the big organization of the camp, but I think with the smaller camps within the camp, make a lot of sense, and I think it makes room. Although it seems like because we're getting so many new people every year, some come back, some don't. It'd be interesting to see how we might field that in a more inclusive way.
Okay.
So we've got one guy who was here a bunch of years, and he's brought like his whole family. I guess his dad came back in the days when we all started coming in the 90s. And, but I haven't really met any of them. I'm like, I go by and I'm like, hey. I feel like, how would I be more inclusive?
Sure. Yeah. No, I asked myself that question because it just seems like a natural thing. Kind of, you have familiarity with the people that you know from the previous year, and so you naturally gravitate towards them. And sometimes it's hard. I find myself like not being more inclusive and not like really making the effort to like meet new people on the campus. There's just so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and what do we have going on here? Oh, so we have a complaint.
Well, we're
working on a complaint.
Oh, okay. We're working on a complaint.
You have a beautiful shirt for a complaint.
Yeah. Great attire.
Is it for sale? I'm kidding you.
Well, Charlie, do you have any thoughts about Anonymous Village or anything else that you would like to add or complaints of your own?
We're fucking here, man.
We are here for better or for worse. We are fucking
I
here.
have had several talks with struggling people. As you know, they come in,
Sure,
and then we have those moments, and the light turns on.
That's true.
And it's beautiful.
I know it is. And then we have our moments, and then we talk about it, and we work it out. We're better for it.
Yeah.
Which has been really good.
I have learned two profound things from you that have been like...
From me?
From you, yeah.
Okay.
2 years in a row where I've had to like reevaluate some of the stuff that I find structural that I live by, which has been amazing.
Like what specifically? If you want to talk
we've talked about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm interviewing you. So.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about immediacy. We have the acculturation things, and thinking about new people in the camp.
Sure.
And going up to them, how do you explain immediacy? How do you prepare somebody for immediacy? How do you help someone see immediacy?
Okay.
Because that, to me, is one of the most... I mean, before that was even a principle, which, you know, we came before there were principles.
Right.
You know, how do you bring that to somebody? You know,
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Front Tuck, what's happening, man?
Just Front Tuck making a random cameo. See you guys later.
Right on, man. How you doing? All right. Well, hey, thank you. I want to thank all of you for participating in this interview and contributing to the oral history of Anonymous Village. It's been awesome, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Thank you so much. Garth.
Yes, sir.
Man, this is awesome. Thank you for coming out and sharing your experience and history and shenanigans of Anonymous Village.
I'll tell you what I can remember. But
Okay. So, as you know, we interviewed Extavon, right, yesterday, and he gave us a bunch of
lies.
Lies. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So is he just totally full of shit and he just doesn't remember
Esteban's
anything?
full of shit?
Yeah.
He's from Texas.
He's from Texas.
Full
Okay.
of bullshit.
Okay, so he has his own agenda. That's apart
the greater
from
glorification of Esteban.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, I think he'd probably think differently of that, but or maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. You know, grandiosity. I have no idea. It's a common.
I try and embrace it. You know?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah,
That's,
for sure.
You know, because underneath this vast, beautiful visage that is me is a, nervous, neurotic little sniveling pussy.
Yeah, totally same with me. Yeah. You got to cover it up, right?
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
You can't be strutting that stuff out in the street.
No, you just got to.
You go out in the street that way, you're going to be a dead man.
You just got to lay it on thick, Just, by all means, just hide that. So we've been doing some investigative journalism, and we're trying to figure out exactly when Anonymous Village started. So do you have an idea?
I have rough ideas. Those early days, also my early sobriety, and some of the years went over time to just blend in. From first year I was out here sober, I guess it was 96. So that's the year I got sober. I had my last drug out here, and I'd been going to AA for a couple of months, but then I came out. I had a little relapse on pot, so I was looking for a meeting. I'd heard that there was a meeting. In those days, the man just laid on the ground, and there was a bunch of hay bales at the base of them. And
I remember that.
And they used to pull them up with a rope. It was a big community thing, the night of the burn.
Awesome.
And on the hay bales, people would sit around the hay bales all night and smoke cigarettes, which I couldn't believe didn't prematurely set the man off.
Oh my God!
But there was a sign that said, with the logo, the AA logo, and it said meeting at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I came at 5 o'clock and didn't see anybody look like they were in AA. I just saw a bunch of people sitting around smoking cigarettes, which I now realize they're probably all alcoholics.
Yeah,
I don't know whether they're having a meeting or not.
That sounds like addicts and alcoholics for sure.
Yeah. So I didn't really attend that meeting, but I was kind of looking for it.
Right.
The next year, 97, was the 1 year in my 30 so far that I missed because I was buying a house and had to close the deal and move and all that.
Adulting. You had to be an adult.
I guess the next year was the first year I found meetings, and I can't remember how I knew about it, but maybe it was posted on ePlaya info or something, but there was a meeting and there was an address, and and there was a whiteout. The meeting, I think it was at 5:30, and I remember just walking, it seemed like forever, through this whiteout, and found this address. I think it was at 5:30 and something, and you couldn't see 20 feet in front of you, and all of a sudden, like 12 people showed up, and I believe it was Danarchy. He had a pole with a parachute over it.
Okay.
That was what people used for shade in the early days. Until they figured out that parachutes are not great shade structures because they trap air. They don't,
right.
They don't breathe it.
They're good for parachuting.
Yeah, but we had a meeting in there, and those meetings kind of went on, and I think AV more or less developed out of those meetings. They just kind of grew a little bit every year.
Yeah.
And some of the same people started coming back every year, and a few of them. Danarchy is really the guy, I think, that maybe was the prime mover. I think Team came into those meetings once in a while.
From Gate and Perimeter.
I believe he went to a couple of those. I think I met him back then.
Sure.
I might have met him back at home meetings, but I think it was there. And there were some old guys who trapped me. They trapped me. Yeah, trapped me.
They held you hostage.
Yeah. They started Hokey Pokey.
Hokey Pokey.
The Hokey Pokey camp was sober camp, and these were guys. They're grouchy old guys. They're like my age now or something. They didn't like any A meetings. They thought we're alcoholics, we're not drug addicts or something. Because they had that old school thinking.
Sure.
But I liked them, so I camped with them for a couple of years. But then I got too grouchy, and so we left them, and I came back to AV for a couple of years, and then for 3 years I had my own theme camp with a friend of mine from back home in the 9 o'clock plaza. But we were coming to meetings here all the time. Photo Gartho camp in there.
And what years?
That was 2006, 7, and 8.
Oh, okay.
We were in the 9 o'clock plaza. It was really cool because we had access to the grid, so we could light it up.
Oh,
I had,
wow.
that big step band Crash?
Yeah. Yeah, fresh.
That was mine. He bought it from me.
Oh, wow.
And I had converted it into a photo studio. And we brought in 3 stories of scaffolding.
Yeah.
And then my friend David built, those kids' toys where you kind of squeeze a couple of sticks together and a little acrobat spins and does little circles?
Yeah, totally. I remember that with the rubber band.
He built a life-size one on top of the scaffolding.
Oh, my gosh.
And Erin and her friend Nicole, who draws all the maps that you get when you come in the gate, the big map, the unfold, and it shows everything.
Yeah.
Nicole was with us, and Erin and Nicole one night climbed up the scaffolding, and they had striking Statue of Liberty poses or something with road flares. But they were like facing into the wind, and so the flares are like spitting back at them. And I know Erin Lee still has little marks in her arms and her torso and stuff from all that, and they're laughing and thinking it was hilarious. And at some point, Erin yelled out, "Danger is funny." That's where the bumper sticker comes from.
No way.
She just sort of embraced that and then started passing out, the bumper stickers.
Oh,
so that's
amazing.
the history of the Danger is Funny.
That's so beautiful.
So then after that, I guess in 2010, it was just too much work. There was just 3 of us doing that thing,
Yeah.
So 2010, I just sort of came back to AV and been with them ever since. First year, I was assistant builder, and boom, boom, boom.
We're at Burning Man.
And there was a guy who was a builder who was just psychotic, and
What happened?
He basically got 86'd out of here by just about everybody. He
really?
He just turned into a tyrant. He was trying to get everything done. Like, I remember one time I was bent over driving some stakes, and he didn't like the angle that I was driving the stakes at. This is what I think we're still using rebar or something.
Hammer.
And I'm bent over, and it's hot, sweaty, and working hard. He just got in my face and started yelling and screaming right in my face, literally right in my face. I know how to build. I said.
Yeah.
I've been in construction for 40 years. You don't tell me how to fucking drive a stake,
Yeah, that's
It was just like shit like that, blah, blah,
Playa
drama. And this
Yep.
guy just had an authority complex. He was one of those guys, you give him a little bit of authority, he goes...
Just drunk with power.
Yeah.
Ex-Devon was telling us a little bit about it. Yeah, just because we're a clean and sober camp doesn't mean we're free of Playa drama. That's for sure. Except for you.
With that look.
Except for you,
Yeah, of course. So anyway, the next year I was the builder.
Okay.
And I think I did that for 2 years or 1 year. 2 years, I think.
Lead builder.
Yeah, I guess to about 2012. I might be off a year or two here and there. And then I just kind of passed it on to, I think Crash took it over from me. So I just kind of been hanging out ever since, take little jobs. Tawana gave me the official title of 8-Ball. And that's my AV title.
That's your AV title, 8-Ball?
8-Ball, yeah.
Okay.
Which I kind of like, because if I want to push somebody around and say, you got to get behind the 8-Ball.
Yeah, you got to get behind the 8-Ball. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just some joke thing, so.
Right, right.
You know, like most of the shit here. So
Yeah. And so you've been involved in Anonymous Village for a very long time. You've been a member of this community, and so how have you seen it changed over the years? Like, what impressions have that left you with?
Well, at first, the very first, meetings that I would go into, like when they were into the parachute, it was the first couple of years that they had the parachute. At least the first year, I don't think people were camping together. I think just Danarchy was there by themselves, and then people started like camping together. And then, of course, it's gotten huge.
Okay, so the village gradually just kind of emerged naturally by people congregating closer and closer together to actually live in community?
Yeah, as far as I can tell.
Interesting.
I mean, it's funny. Alcoholics have a way of fighting each other,
We do.
And I don't know how it got so. When I was first coming out here, there was like 2,000 people was Burning Man, So as everything expanded, so did AV.
Right.
I guess, around the turn of the century, it seemed like every year there was 10,000 more people there for about 5 years. And,
right.
It was just crazy. It went from like 2,000 to 3,000, then next year it was like 8,000. The year after it was 15,000. And everybody's kind of looking at each other and going, wow.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I had a little better understanding of the exact numbers back around that time because I was doing photography for what was then the Rock Gazette that was funded by the Borg.
Oh, wow. So you were the photographer for the Gazette.
Yeah, I was one of two.
Oh, okay.
And then there was an incident that somebody wrote a little article on the Borg didn't like, and they defunded us after that year. And then some of the people who were involved in that group spun off and became the Black Rock Beacon, which is... But we were putting out a newspaper every day on Playa.
I remember. It was awesome. What a huge task.
Yeah, they actually had we had some trailers. We do all the all the layout and stuff like that, and photo editing in the trailer on the computers, and then they take the disc and somebody would drive into Reno every night, and they had some overnight printing place, and they'd print up however many thousand issues it was. I think for some reason the number 8,000 sticks in my head, but I'm not sure about that.
Wow.
But and then they'd come back, and then in the morning they would distribute them all around the playa, and
wow, that's hardcore. You have to go to Reno every night. Pay for overnight, like rush printing.
Yeah, there was some overnight printing service that was there. So I wasn't involved in that part of it. But
they would like spend the night in their car, then they get them fresh off the press in the morning, and then come back. Wow, that's amazing. So much dedication.
Yeah,
it's really awesome.
It was kind of fun because I had some entree into the powers that be, and kind of got to know some of those people and those.
Sure.
I kind of knew them from back home too, because a lot of that stuff was. It used to be, in the early days, really early days, when they first were coming out here, they'd have a couple of big events in San Francisco at their warehouse, and they call them town hall meetings, and there'd be maybe 500 of the hardcore people would show up, and it was a big party, but they'd have a meeting, and everybody could speak their mind and make suggestions and stuff like that. And Larry Harvey would be around there and kind of officiate it and act like he was the king of it all, but it was really a combination of a bunch of people doing their own, but I guess they orchestrated it in some sense. But
sure.
Those were great. Those were great parties, and so I got to know some of those people. So they had these town meetings, and they were great. And then they always had a great Christmas party. I really love those. In the early days, it was you kind of knew a lot of the people. You just because there just weren't that many. Right. But as it got bigger, the Borg team got more insular.
Sure.
Yeah, which I guess is natural enough, And then I just saw more of the the inner workings of politics, and that old expression about politics and sausage. In order to enjoy either one, you don't want to see how it's made. That kind of started having that feeling, so I kind of backed away from it about that time. And that was, I guess, about the time I was finishing up doing Camp Photo Gartho in the 9 o'clock plaza, and just started hanging out. I just wanted to come to Burning Man, do my thing here, and not be so much part of that.
Right. So now going back, so you're a native from San Francisco, or you've lived in San Francisco or the Bay Area?
I live in the Bay. I've lived in the Bay Area off and on since I was 6.
Oh wow. Okay. So you've really seen this whole thing kind of emerge from the beginning, like the Cacophony Society, and then
I did a couple things with the Cacophony Society, but the first couple of burns on the beach, I never made it to. I knew about them.
Right, okay.
But I had to go across the bridge, and right at the base of the bridge was my bar, so I'd have to get a couple of drinks in order to get across the bridge. And and then next thing I knew, it was like 3 days later.
You were like,
that
I missed
about 3
it, I'm
years
drunk.
ago.
Fuck, oh man, yeah.
You know how it is.
I do, indeed.
I had great plans and other priorities.
Right. Best laid plans of mice and men. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so then you really kind of heard about this thing from the beginning, and then what was your inspiration or, motivation to come out the first time?
I just knew people were coming, some people, artists.
Yeah.
I was living in a warehouse for 10 years in Oakland.
Okay.
It was full of artists. Well, I have to say it was full of tweakers who thought they were artists.
Yeah. Oh, guys like me. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you know how tweakers are.
I do.
Very much. When I moved out, I had a little small construction business, and I had when I moved to my house, I had just tons of crap that I collected, and I had the front bumper to a '72 Cadillac or something, just bolted to the wall and stuff like that. And I had I just had all this fucking scrap metal shit. I just gave it to the other guys living there because you can give tweakers anything because they think they're artists.
You can give us anything. Like, we can't throw anything away. Everything is like unique, and it has its own just special appeal. Yeah.
If I was a tweaker, and that wasn't my drug of choice.
Yeah.
But if I was, and I wanted to be a billionaire, I'd open a salvage shop or a cleaning service or something. I'll clean out your house.
Yeah. The problem is you wouldn't
they're going to try and do it anyway, but they're usually when you're not home.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah. Where were we?
Yeah. So we're talking like late 80s, right?
Yeah.
So maybe like 88, 89, right around in there?
That's somewhere in there. Early 90s.
Right.
Late
What are
80s.
Some of the notable artists you remember from that time?
From the early days?
Yeah.
Well, there's the guys who make these big clay sculptures out of the fucking mud stuff.
That's what I first
What was the name?
Yeah, Pepe.
Pepe. And they do the operas and stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
They were kind of cool.
They were awesome.
Cheesy, but they were awesome.
No.
But the scale was great.
I remember I was on a bunch of LSD. And I think it was.
Of course you were.
Yes, I think it was.
You can't take just a small amount.
97 or 98, and I remember Pepe made this huge lingam out of clay and then set it on fire.
Yeah.
And I know it was a long time ago because it was back when we used pagers, before cell phones. But I don't know why.
You had a pager?
Yeah. I don't know why.
You're a tweaker with a pager.
I know, right? Yeah.
Don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, Pepe's art was fantastic.
What else was it? I don't know. The thing I really loved, I think it was the first year I was out here, they had a boxing ring set up. And they had a battle between good and evil.
Wow.
And there was one guy representing, the devil, and some other guy like Jesus, and they're going at it in the boxing ring. It was, big fake fight, but it was all like theater. And then it was being refereed by Albert Camus.
Who's that?
Albert Camus was a French existentialist philosopher. And, kind of, I guess that was an esoteric sort of joke, but one of the things they kind of talked about, I guess, was, the good and evil are human constructs, not things that exist, in and of themselves in the universe or something. I don't want to get into my third-rate philosophy meanderings here because...
you can get into whatever you want, man. It doesn't matter.
No, but nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people that do. Yeah, well, but,
I'm not talking to those people.
Okay, you're not. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. No, it's totally fine.
That was
I understand.
Another great thing that year, I thought this was like in '96, and it was when Bill Clinton was going through the Monica Lewinsky scandal and stuff.
Yes,
And somebody had a life-size cardboard cutout of Bill Clinton, and coming out of his pants was a dildo, and you could squeeze a dildo and it would shoot suntan lotion. So people coming by, it just shit like that. It was just hilarious, And I remember the first year also the sound camp. You had to walk like a half a mile away from where everybody was camping, and they had all these racks, and they must have had hundreds of just pots, pans, pieces of sheet metal, anything metallic that would make noise. And some band was playing, and I was drunk out of my mind by this time, and the drummer would sit there and he'd hit the drum with his drumstick and it'd bounce it off and it'd fly into the audience, or he'd just throw the drumsticks. So there was like 200 or 300 people all trying to make rhythm at the same time, and it was all just cacophony for a while. But after a while, because the main drummer was up on the stage, you just keep the beat going, and people gradually just synced into the beat, and this thing went on for like an hour, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly because I was it might have gone on all night.
Right.
Anyway, that was very cool.
Yeah.
I really love that too. That was my first night here.
That was your very first night?
That was my very first night. And then I woke up the next morning, face down in the dust.
Naturally.
I had a little Toyota pickup truck, one of those old, 78 or something.
Nice.
And I had brought with me a couple of bottles of Jack Daniels and a cooler full of beer, and probably for nutrition, I might have brought a Snickers or something,
Cause water? Did you bring water at all? No.
I had beer. You know, what do you
Beer,
mean?
beer is
beer's
water.
mostly water.
It's mostly water. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Anyway, I woke up just hungover with a hot sun beating down on my head. 7 a.m. I hear this. I go to fuck. It was making all this noise.
Yeah.
And I kind of pop open one eye and I look out, and out there 50, 100 feet away, there's a guy on a motorcycle. And he's got a tow rope behind it. And on the tow rope, he's towing this platform, about maybe a 4x4 or 5x5 foot platform.
Yeah.
On casters or something, fishtailing around. On top of the platform is a toilet.
Okay.
On top of the toilet is a big fat guy, must have weighed 350 pounds or more, with his pants down, sitting on the toilet, with a good 1 foot long cigar stuck in his mouth and a big sombrero.
Nice.
And he's reading the Sunday paper, and this guy's whipping him around in a plaid.
Wow.
And I thought it was just so absurd, and I just thought,
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is cool. I'm in the right place.
You're in the right place. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I'll just never forget that first thing. And then, and then after that, it's just thousands of things. You just
yeah.
It was so whimsical and funny, and the vibe was cool, and it was,
very accepting.
Yeah. Oh, and then, of course, the drive-by shooting.
I was just going to ask about that. I was just going to ask you. So, tell me about your adventures at the drive-by shooting range.
I don't remember exactly how I got invited in because I didn't have any weapons of my own, but somehow I got basically just back on the mountain range back over there. They just had, for maybe several hundred yards, they just had tons of stuffed animals, Barneys and, all those kids' stuffed toys, but big ones.
Yeah.
And teddy bears and stuff like that. Just to get in the back of a pickup truck and it starts in the winter, people just start blasting away. Just moop the shit out. I mean, those were way before any moop consciousness out here.
Right.
Just blew the shit out of stuff. And there was one guy who had something that was kind of automatic because he was going, like,
oh man.
I was shooting a pistol, so I was just going boom, boom,
right.
But then there were guys with shotguns and
yeah.
I don't know how anybody didn't get killed doing that.
No doubt, man.
Especially those automatic pistols. All you got to do is hit a bump, and the guy gets, if he's automatic, and just,
not to
roll
mention
around or
ricocheting bullets. You know, I mean, shotguns are one thing, but shooting, like bullets, Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it was fun. It was madness.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
dangerous
for sure.
And fun, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the warning on the ticket was really for real, Like I remember that. Like, my friends told me that they were like, hey, read the ticket. You're a serious injury or death by attending this event. I was like, okay.
And was it that year or the next year, my first or second year? I remember, because we used to be way out in the playa.
Further out, huh?
Oh, way out, like 10
way
miles
out.
further.
Yeah, that's right. I remember, like you had to set your odometer.
There was some guy and people were just camping out. It wasn't designated areas, and there's somebody, maybe even a couple, I don't remember, were in a little tent out there somewhere, and they got run over and killed
terrible,
out there.
I know.
So.
Horrible. Absolutely atrocious. Really tragic.
So it was dangerous out there.
It was dangerous, yeah.
That
was like 96.
Mad Max vibe, like
sure.
When I come off the road, there was Danger Ranger was there, a little camper, a flag.
Who's Danger Ranger?
Danger Ranger he's sort of started the Rangers thing. He's been around since the beginning. He was one of the probably 3 or 4 guys that started this whole thing, along with Larry Harvey.
I see, like a founding Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another guy named, what was his first name? Something Law.
Oh, John Law.
John Law, yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of them, but he kind of like bailed out of it after a couple of years. And I think there was some animosity about that. And people think he got like aced out, because people think that he was like the real founder, and Larry Harvey was kind of like taking the credit. I don't know.
There's all kinds
inside politics, and I don't give a shit.
There was a lawsuit that ensued and the whole thing.
Was there? Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
lots of drama.
So
of course,
come off the high, and then when I first got here that first time. So there's Danger Ranger, and he's in his, and he says, "You got a ticket?" And I go, "Yeah." And I show him this $25 ticket that I got from the Berkeley Hat Company. It was Xeroxed. So
what?
Yeah, it was just a Xerox thing. I said, "Yeah, welcome for $25." And anybody could have like made thousands copies, but there's. It just wasn't a big deal then when people weren't doing that stuff yet. And and then so because we were way down there. This is just coming off, at the apron right down where we come off now. Got behind me, pointed my head, and kind of like got my face in the right direction. He says, "Look at that mountain range, the farthest mountain range you can see down there, 15 miles or something like that." And he says, "You see those 2 peaks are a little higher than the other?" And I'm kind of going, he bends my head a little. He goes, "Oh, yeah." And he says, "Count over 4 peaks, and you'll see a big dip." And I go, "Yeah." He says, "Okay, I'll go up." And then there's 2 more peaks, right? Yeah. He says, "Follow those 2 peaks for 10.6 miles, turn right, and go another 4.3 miles, and you can't miss it."
Whoa.
So people were just screaming down there, shooting up rooster tails of dust.
Right.
And it was like Mad Max. I think Mad Max was still pretty fresh, and the original one in people's minds.
Yeah, right. Mel Gibson, sure.
I in my little truck, I couldn't go that fast, but people were just screaming by me. It was exhilarating. It was, but people kick up dust and you couldn't see what the fuck you were going to hit.
Right.
Fortunately, there wasn't anything out there, but
right.
Just
amazing.
That sense of exhilaration and danger,
For sure.
Kind of been an adrenaline junkie for a long time.
Sure. Yeah.
Get it from
Yeah. I mean, back then it was
river
really
rafting and other shit that I used to do. And
yeah. Wow, that's awesome, man. And then, so we have the formation of Anonymous Village, right?
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that thing. And then no, this is totally great. No, it's totally great. But I just have, so it seems like there's a whole new crew of people now, and that Anonymous Village has grown, and it keeps growing, and so we have a whole new, multiple generations of people coming in, and yeah. And so, what are your impressions of all that? And just
whippersnappers, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. What if you want my impression? It'll never work.
I know. Buy some fucking ratchet straps, right? This is the lag bolt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know.
But it's always been like that.
I know.
Now
I feel old and crotchety. I'm lecturing people in the business meeting.
When I was a kid, I had to go to Burning Man.
Back in my day, we used rebar.
That was nasty shit.
Oh, it's horrible.
I still got a ton of it around my house.
Fuck that rebar, man. Yeah. Thank God for lag bolts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So I mean, you've camped at Anonymous Village now for, a number of years, right? Consistently?
Straight through, I guess, since 10 through now, which was 14 in a row, and then a few years before that.
Right.
When it was really tiny, and but I've always been a sober, and then 3 years at Hokey Pokey, and 3 years doing my own thing, so.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do
those numbers add up? I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know.
Higher math.
Yeah, it's like 110 degrees in this trailer right now, so it doesn't even really matter. But there seems to be, a new kind of movement, and maybe it's just my impression, but a newfound interest in actually, being clean and sober, right? And
amongst the youth.
Yeah.
The Utes.
Yeah.
What do we call them? The Utes.
Yeah. Is that your impression? And is that why we start to see younger people,
I think, in the culture, the outside culture, you mean?
Yeah, the outside culture in influencing the growth of AB. Is that your impression, or?
It's more of a sense than an impression, but yeah.
Okay.
But I think, a lot of famous people, talk about, because they're obsessive about themselves.
Of
course.
Talk
about, I got clean as over, so,
right.
You see them on Oprah and all the so-called influencers.
Yeah, right.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a thing.
Right.
But I also think that probably in another 10 years, there's going to be a reaction to that. People going to say, I'm nerdier than you are. I went out, and did all the shit that we did. So.
Right.
Well, who knows? I don't know. Yeah, I think there is, but maybe that's just California culture. I don't know. I don't know if that's you get back into the the backwoods and stuff like that.
Yeah,
heavy drinking might still be the
right.
Some of them old Nashville songs and stuff like that. They still
right
kind of celebrate.
Yeah,
beer and stuff. So
you're right. And so, where do you see Anonymous Village a few years from now? Do you think it'll keep growing, or do you think it'll?
I just like to see a few years from now.
You're definitely going to see a few years from now. Come on now.
I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. I mean, it seems to me in the last few years it's kind of like COVID didn't help, but it seemed more cohesive.
Really?
Before COVID, people do more things together. Maybe because it's grown so much, but there's a lot more little groups and stuff like that. And I was talking to Charlotte a little about it. I think maybe we got too big, stuff like that. Maybe we should break off and.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe. I mean, it's just a thought. I haven't given it any deep thought, but.
Or maybe we just need to do some more work on bringing because it is a large camp now. We're talking 200 people, right?
Yeah, but how many people can you corral at an event like this,
That's true.
1 week and stuff like that? If you want a more cohesive sense of community, which I think we used to have, I think some of that's fallen apart.
So it has
I mean, that's one of the main reasons I keep coming back. I mean, I love the art and all that stuff, but what I really love is seeing, these are my people, these are, these are the crazies, and these are people that I'm crazy about, and we share the same kind of kind of madness, that
Sure.
And
I would say for me as well, like the most enjoyable times I have is just really being in camp and like hanging out with everyone, and talking with folks. And then I already know that you guys understand what I went through, being.
No, we don't.
Being an
we
addict.
just fake it.
Yeah.
We're pandering to you, man.
You're pandering.
Get over it.
Right. You just want me to screw down more lag bolts.
That's right.
That's what the
Yeah.
deal is. So I'm being used by the entire camp. That's awesome.
Let's talk Buddy in a service position. He'll do that guy.
Yeah,
He'll do
yeah.
anything,
Let's just make him feel at home, and we'll just tuck him right
Love you,
in.
man. Got any lag bolts?
Right. You did a great job. Where's the ratchet strap? Well, do you have any other thoughts or feelings about Anonymous Village or Burning Man or the world or
my thoughts and feelings are just like the rest of my life. They ebb and flow and stuff like that. But I dream about Burning Man almost every night.
Wow.
I mean, but it's not out here.
Right, because you're in it.
Well, in my dreams, it's always in some other location, and sometimes it's in a beautiful mountain glade, with a lot of waterfalls and ponds and stuff like that. But it's this event, and sometimes it's just like I don't know. It's just weird, but I dream about it a lot. Not every night, but
right.
Probably at least a couple, maybe 3 times a week.
That's amazing, man. It's just a part of your subconscious.
Yeah.
It's really a part of you.
Yeah, this is how my brain is organized.
It's organized like the Esplanade.
Yeah. There's a serious shortage of lag bolts holding on my thoughts in my brain.
Yeah, right. You need more tie downs for your monkey hut. Your monkey hut of a brain. Yeah. Okay.
Everybody here is pretty cool.
Everyone here is really cool.
Not everyone. Apparently that guy over the corner was.
Yeah, but I mean, you're always going to have one or two. But I mean, that's just life.
But the general vibe, I mean, that's why I love Burning Man. It's just like, it's so inclusive.
Right.
No matter how crazy you think you are, there's somebody there who just thinks your craziness is okay.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much everybody.
Right. I think it really fits well, with 12-step recovery, as far as the steps and traditions,
Absolutely.
I mean, we focus on the similarities rather than the difference, acceptance. Right.
I wouldn't say sponsorship exactly, but
yeah,
people will help you out. You need help with something, there's just people there for you at every level, whether it's building your camp or if you're having a meltdown or something like that.
Yeah, if I really need something, I know I can find a camp that has a pair of socks or something, and they'll be like, sure, no problem.
Oh yeah, a pair of socks camp.
Yeah, right. There's a whole entire camp
for socks
dedicated to socks. You're
putting me on, right?
No, there is. I
really?
saw it in the book. It's Camp Socks. At least it's called Camp Socks. Okay, we're going to go find it today. Yeah. No, I mean, it's amazing.
So I can't even remember how it was, but I heard that interview you did. So a few months back.
Oh, with Accuracy Third. Yeah. So this that we're doing here. So it's Accuracy Third and Oral History of Black Rock City. Right.
This interview is part of that same interview you did. I mean, part of
So the 3 people that provide that podcast that put it on, D-Day, Rex, and Beth, they're part of the off-center camp, the staff camp, that build center camp. And so I didn't know that, but I'd listened, I just found this podcast called Accuracy Third, and it's amazing. It's just really good,
So I can find it like an Apple podcast thing?
You can, absolutely.
What's it called again?
It's called Accuracy Third.
Accuracy Third.
A play on safety third, right?
Yeah.
Accuracy Third and Oral History of Black Rock City. And they are amazing.
Two different podcasts?
No, it's the same.
That's just the titles both, yeah.
Accuracy Third, and then the descriptive is an oral history of Black Rock City. Yeah. And I mean, they're just amazing folks. And Reddy, was over there and working with them. And I got to come out this year early and help them build their staff camp, for a few days. And it was amazing. And so
fix my benches.
And fix your benches. Yeah. No, I didn't. I wasn't the one that fixed your. Or did you build benches for them over there?
I built. Yeah.
Really?
Twana, that bitch.
Oh my
who I
God.
love.
Right, of course.
Calls me up about 3 weeks before I'm ready
You're
to go.
the one.
She just asked me about a bench, how to build a bench. She said, we got to build 200 feet of benches. And I said,
right.
But it's got to be able to break down. So I think about it for, and then I send her some drawings and she goes, and then she's like the Mafia, just when you think you're out, she sucks you back in.
Absolutely. 100%.
Next thing I know, I'm using one of my best friends who's a contractor, who's got an account with the local lumber yard.
Okay.
And I could order stuff. I got to pay it back, but I could discount stuff like that.
Sure.
And it's much better lumber than you can find at Home Depot and shit like that. So next thing I know, I've got a whole fucking flatbed filled with lumber being dumped in my driveway. I was thinking, I ordered enough material, for diagonal bracing, but then I thought they wanted to break them down and would take 3 times as much as pull out the diagonals and shit.
Right,
like
of
that.
course.
So
Yeah.
I thought that would be good enough. So I guess didn't you do it? Did you do the diagonals?
No, I didn't do the diagonals. And I was at the OCC, the off-center camp, just helping the staff camp get their stuff set up. You see?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so everybody that builds center camp stays in the off-center camp. OCC is the inside baseball acronym, I found out. Yeah, so I helped them out for a few days. But it was just really fun. They're really great to work with. And so I approached him with this idea. I was like, we really want to capture the history of Anonymous Village. And what do you guys think about having maybe a mini-series that is a part of Accuracy Third, but it's Anonymous Village, like an oral history of Anonymous Village AV. And so they said, yeah, that was a great idea. So they loaned us the recording equipment that we're using right now. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So they're going to edit it down and it's going to be a podcast. So... yeah.
So now I'm going to be famous?
You're going to be world famous.
Cool, because when I'm famous, I'm going to run the world. I'm going to rule the world.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
all right.
Watch your ass.
Yeah, drunk
Watch
with
your ass,
power.
pal.
I will keep that in mind, yeah.
That guy that bullied me in high school?
Okay, well, so... yeah, he is? Okay, all right, yeah. We interviewed Esteban, and then we'd like to track down Santa Cruz if he's available.
If you want to get some of the way back people.
Yeah, I do.
Danarchy would.
I know he's not here, but we'll interview him next year. This is going to be an ongoing project,
Danarchy, Team.
Yeah. And Team should be here, though, right? Yeah,
Team's around.
He's around.
Floats in out, but
okay.
He's working gate or
he's
perimeter
busy.
or something.
He's super busy, I know. Yeah. I only saw him dip in for a meeting real quick, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't been around.
Yeah. Maybe after things kind of die down a little bit, after teardown, maybe I can track him down, because I'm not going to leave until, until all the village is packed up. So, yeah. In case you skip out early and you're just like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. I'll be here to pick up your slack.
Isn't that the plan?
I mean, is that your plan? I don't,
Yes.
Yes, you're like, yes.
I don't know if I can pull it off, but...
You're like, I'm already packed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Garth. Man, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and adding to the annals of history.
Going down memory lane, you fucker. Bastards.
I know. Yeah. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, we're good. Bye.
And we're back.
I mean, that was 37 stories. Come on.
It was the beginning of a whole lot of stories, too. And I hope you all enjoyed these interviews. Thank you so much to Buddy for recording them for us. I can't wait to hear the stories that you get this year and to interview all of the people that you said you wanted to interview who weren't even there to be interviewed this year. Let's hear from them next year.
D-Day. Not every story needs a beginning, middle, and end. This is a lie sold to you by Hollywood. They want stories to be 90 minutes. They need all these components. Act structure. Jesus Christ. Sometimes a story is just like 3 disconnected sentences about an ostensible topic.
You could have said that in your David Lynch voice, and for some reason you chose not to. And I think we're just going to leave the disappointment of that right there. Beth, you know how you're the mayor of our camp?
Yes.
If you were the mayor of Anonymous Village, you would be the village idiot. And I would like to challenge you right now, Beth, to be the village idiot of Off-Center Camp.
Does it require me to be sober?
Certainly not.
Okay.
Well... Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, everyone should become a ranger. We heard from a bunch of rangers in this episode. They're great. If you're great, become a ranger. The rangers need you to become a ranger. What do you want? Don't look at me like that. If you listen to the episode, you wouldn't need me to lead the outro.
I was holding space for your Ranger.
Oh, we're holding space.
I didn't
Hop on. I have nothing else to say about the Rangers.
Fuck yeah, Rangers. Also, hey, this was produced by Accuracy Third, which is the three of us, and every single one of you that has contributed to this podcast. The best way you can support us is come on the fucking podcast. Why haven't you come on the podcast? Jesus Christ, come on the podcast.
And check it out. Like this season, we have had a bunch of interviews submitted by collaborators, and it's so easy to be a collaborator on this show. We will facilitate.
The more interviews you do for us, the more interviews Zeno will do for us so that he can continue to have done more interviews for us than you have. How dare you?
We're going to have a listener appreciation party. It will be Wednesday of event week at
2 p.m. It's at 345 and A at Camp Got a Lot Going On, which is all one word if you're looking it up on the map. Find us with our flag, which we'll remember to fly maybe. The camp has a big cuddle puddle of giant teddy bears, which should help you orient.
BurnerNarc.com.
BurnerNarc.com.
It's not a joke, but it is a joke.
Get your anti-fash art at BurnerNarc.com. You too can be anti-fash.
Is that all the things? Music?
Yeah, there is music in this episode. Thank you, Beth. The music in this episode is When I Fall by The Harlequin. The link is in the show notes to get that music and more music from one of the guys from that damn band.
If you make music, let us use your music, please. We'll like send our listeners your way, and we'll be very grateful because your music makes us sound better.
Follow us on Blue Sky, join us on our Discord, and email us pictures of your pets, I guess.
The Discord is rad, guys.
The Discord is rad.
Yeah, it's much nicer than
not having a Discord was.
Because of the Discord, we are suddenly going to Soak in a week. Like a week from today. A week from today, we'll have been at Soak for a day.
Hey.
All right, got a pack.
Oh, that's really great. That's awesome. So we have multi-generations of people here.
Yes.
Related and unrelated. And there's a whole new, there's like me and a whole new wave of people that you've gotten to see. How's that been, seeing new people come into Anonymous Village?
It's great. I love that Burning Man is growing.
Yeah, me too.
And I really like that the regionals are kind of carrying our culture into the real world. I got this gig doing the Black Rock Ranger trainings mostly through my character defects.
What do you mean?
Doing the ranger training on Playa sucks, and it eats a whole day of your burn.
Oh, wow.
And the first ranger trainings I went to were at Flipside, which ate a day of Flipside, but it wasn't like it ate a day here.
And Flipside is a regional in Austin, right?
It's the Austin regional.
Okay, it's one of the biggest regionals, isn't it?
Well, it's not anymore. Love Burn is much bigger, and Africa Burn is bigger now also.
Okay.
They held a number of ranger trainings there over the years, which was really good for the Texas community also.
Right.
So at some point I jumped in the grease and said, what is it going to take for us to hold a training in Texas? And one of the reasons I'm really committed to continuing that is the discussions we have in ranger training about communication, how to clearly communicate, how to ensure that both parties the information is flowing backwards and forwards, is one of the keys, I believe, to a lot of the problems we have in society today. We are not communicating. We are focusing on issues at the top level. And one of the things, there's a reading in the Ranger Manual where it talks about two chefs, and there's only one orange. and each chef wants the orange. And so after fighting for a while, they'd agree to cut the orange in half. And so it turns out one of the chefs is the pastry guy, and he just needs the zest off of the outside to go into his cupcakes or something. And the other guy is the saucier, and he needed the juice. And the communication was up at the level of interest, and they never got to what is the real need there. And if you can communicate in such a way where you're getting to the baseline rather than the billboards, you can affect change. You can change things. I mean, like the Trump wall deal. So Trump has all of his people all stirred up about the wall. And what is the base fear there? It's all about security. And if we talk about this in terms of security, the wall really hasn't provided any security. They can climb right over it and be going again in 20 minutes. So if we get back to what is a secure solution versus the anger and the fear, if we can get the emotions out and get down to the basic needs and communicating what is the basis behind this, we have the ability to resolve things. So that's one of the reasons I've stayed involved in the Ranger training process, because the more people you can get to think critically and try to communicate that way, I think the better our society can become. And that's one of the things I love about Ranger culture is our job is not to provide solutions, but to guide people in their thinking to get to what are the real needs. What do we really need here? How do we get to that rather than this fear-based world that we're living in between our ears?
Right, because we're indoctrinated into focusing on the differences between each other, and so that's where I think 12-step recovery really is in opposition to that, and it's really, for me personally, it's allowed me to deprogram myself and to really focus on the similarities between us, and to really find commonality, so there can be an equal exchange of ideas and mutual aid between us, without all that other dissonance and all that noise getting in the way, which is really good, because I'm very opinionated.
Yeah,
I'm an anarchist, so, I have a lot of opinions that are probably way far left than most people, you know what I mean? But when it comes to being in a meeting or, being in community with people that are in recovery, for me, I get to take a break from all that, and, I've had some intense situations, like in meetings where, half my family's Jewish and I'm sitting next to a guy that has a Nazi Totenkopf, tattooed on his leg. And so, of course, I'm infuriated. I'm triggered. I want to lay hands on him. Yep. I'm an anti-fascist and I'm an anarchist. Let's go. But then I have to think about it, and I have to step back and I go, well, if this person, we need to give this person's a human being. He probably has a lot of hate ink because he spent years and years and years in prison and was indoctrinated into that way of thinking. I could tell it was prison ink just by the quality, of the ink itself. So I already know. Right? Let's allow that person to actually work a program, get a sponsor, work a program, and work through the steps. If you work through all 12 steps, it's going to be increasingly more difficult for you to hold hate or animus, toward another group of people for whatever reason. You're going to have to focus on commonality. You're going to have to focus on what we have in common and not what we have different, So then that allows me to calm down and just okay, I'm going to set this aside, even though I really don't want to. And I'm going to let the 12 steps and the 12 traditions do what they do best. And that takes me out of the picture, which is what I find so valuable.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a great interview. It's so awesome. This is a project that we've been wanting to do for a long time. And, the folks at Accuracy Third loaned us this equipment to make it a reality. They're going to do the editing for it and everything. And then this has been really great, man. This has been our first interview, and we've learned so much. And I really thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I hope you find much more, because I know a lot of the crazy history, but I know that there's a whole lot more.
There's just such a wealth of knowledge out here right now with us, camping with us. So this is going to be amazing.